Alright, our next story is a story about a witch, and her name's Elmira. Now, Elmira, she kept to herself. She wasn't a bad witch. She really wasn't. All witches could be bad or good, but she ended up, she kept to herself. And then one day, tragically, somebody came along and they hurt her daughter. And her daughter ended up pretty much, they tortured her, raped her, and strangled her and left her for dead, and left her in the woods near their cottage. Elmira was very upset. So, I guess this story is about a witch turning dark. So she wanted to find out who it was. So, as she grieved for her daughter, she pretty much, after that, did a resurrection. She pretty much did a resurrection of the dead. And her daughter came alive again because she called for necromancy. And in the necromancy came, and then they were able to see through the eyes of the dead who killed her daughter. And it was pretty much, at that point, I think they were mayors. I don't know what they were called back then. But like the chief person of the town that ran everything, it was his son. So nothing was said or nothing done about it. So she went back to the necromancy because her daughter was one of the undead after that. So they stayed in the woods by themselves because how is she going to explain her daughter being alive when she was dead? And she couldn't say she was dead because everybody thought she was alive because the necromancy brought her back to life. They did a dark ceremony. But her daughter, when she did come back, she didn't come back good. Her daughter came back very dark, wanting vengeance on someone's soul. So they were in her cottage, and she tried to control her daughter. She did want vengeance on the man, but she was going to do it peacefully. But her daughter, being one of the undead, she had other ideas. While her mother was sleeping one day, she went into the village. No one thought nothing of it. No one thought she was dead. The town's children, she played with them, but she was very distant. Her eyes were cold. But she looked alive. They didn't say anything. They would ask for, they were hungry. Because at that point there was famine and everything else going on. So she would go in people's houses, since she had supernatural abilities, being as dark and being undead. She would take food and give it to the kids. And she did that for a while. And her daughter, which her name was Samantha, she would, at night, would stare into his window. And he wanted Samantha killed because he thought that maybe he didn't finish out the deed. So, anyways, they had a whole entire people come with torches, kind of like they did with Frankenstein, trying to burn her. But the powers of darkness brought her back. So her daughter called upon the Dark Lords, wanting her revenge. And with all the sacrificing and stuff that she went through, she was able to tap into that world. So she did. And anyways, the boy in his sleep would sleepwalk all the time. And she wanted him dead in the most unholy way. And all of the serpents of the land, or whatever, the snakes and everything, would just answer to her, because she was really close to the animals and the spiders. So one day he went and he fell asleep in the woods, and there was 8 serpents that went in a circle. And anyways, the serpents, they went in a circle, surrounded his body. The spiders surrounded him, and he was screaming until the spiders swarmed his body so bad that they went in his mouth, and he literally ended up dying because the spiders pretty much ate him alive. And then when they were done, the snakes, she commanded the snakes to finish the job, so the snakes drained him of what the spiders couldn't, and they found him in the woods. And he had no blood. He just laid there, just literally with his legs spread open and his arms spread open. So I guess this story is, if you're going to be really nasty and murder somebody, I wouldn't murder a witch's daughter. Because even though her mom didn't want it to end like that, it sure did. Because sometimes the dead have the last word, and her mom wasn't dead and she was. And she could be alive to this day. I don't know. Who knows? There's strange stories that go around the world. So I guess we'll call this story the Vengeful Witch. Since Samantha was technically a witch, she was a young witch. So we'll just call this the Vengeful Witch. I hope you enjoyed this story from Spooky Hollow. And I'm going to turn off the camera.